So we're going to start with the slide key, which looks pretty easy, but drawing in a triangle in an isometric view takes a little bit of thought, okay? And especially when you have multiple depth layers, we're just going to have to be organized. So for this drawing, I'm going to start off using the point A that they gave me as my starting point. And true to form, I am going to be creating a glass box or a glass rectangle for me to draw this in. Keeping it inside the boundaries is what's going to keep you from having some frustrations later on. So the depth, which is the right side, is 1 1/8 inch, and I'm going to measure back my 1 1/8 inch and transfer that up. Okay. Then let's see here, my total width is going to be 2 1/4 inch across the front. And the total height is 1 7/8, so not quite 2 inches. And if it seems like I'm being extra careful about these measurements, it is, it's true. Because this one, if you're really not careful, then you're going to really mess yourself up. So I'm going to draw my glass box to keep my triangle inside of. Okay. And there's going to be my base. Finding the top center point and creating a line there, this is going to be a huge saving grace. So I'm going to come over my 1 1/8 and create my center line. Okay. And what you need to keep in mind is that you are going to draw everything coming up to that center line that goes along the triangle. I'm also, again, keeping my brain intact here, I'm going to create the back bottom of this box just to make sure that I'm keeping everything inside of that glass box. Because even being just a little bit off is being too much off. There we go. So, first things first, we're going to create that triangle along the front. And I'm going to come up and these are still construction weight lines. Do not give in to object weight lines until you're absolutely sure that's where they belong. Okay. Taking a look at these height measurements, okay, I'm going to put those height measurements up along this front right corner. Okay, and it really is important that we're putting them there and transferring them back and forth. So the first measurement is 1/2 inch. Okay, and the next measurement is 3/4 inch. And I'm going to bring those measurements over not only across the front, but across the side. Okay, and again, there is a reason for this, so please just kind of trust. So this first bit right here, okay, of this triangle is touching the very front of the glass box, and now I can see the boundaries of that part of the triangle. So I'm going to come back in and darken that in with my object weight lines. Okay. I also know that this line across the back goes all the way up to there, and that's solid, so I'm going to go ahead and darken that in as well. Trying to keep my boundaries here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to deal with is depth. How far back? This is 3/4 inch from the back. I'm coming back from the front of the object, and I'm going to always do the dimensions here and transfer them over across the way. So I am going to take my measurement. There's 3/4 inch. And I'm going to transfer it up until it hits that height dimension, and then I'm going to transfer it over. Okay. The reason for that is we need to be able to find where this edge stops. Right here, coming back. Okay, but I'm not going to darken in this object line because I do have this floating triangle up on top that I'm going to need to keep track of. So I should draw that next. So this is 7/8 inch coming forward. Helps if I have the right pencil. And I'm going to make that measurement here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer that down here as well. And from the back corner. Okay. That is going to allow me, with construction weight lines, to create my triangle. In both directions. Okay, so now I know where the front peak is, but also we came up that 3/4 inch right here for this bit, so that needs to be the bottom ledge, but I also need to translate that back my 7/8 distance. Okay, but I can't do it at an angle. I need to do it on a linear dimension. So I'm going to take that point up to that 3/4 inch and bring it over. Okay, we get to the point where there's so many object lines, it is absolutely imperative that we darken things in as we start identifying the final lines. Otherwise, we're not going to know which line is which. Okay. So now, keeping track of this line, I lost track of stuff. Okay, I'm with it again. Took me a moment. Darken in that object line. And at this corner, I'm going to bring it back at a 30-degree angle to see where it intersects this line that we measured previously. Okay. We're going to darken that in as an object line, and this one as well. Okay, this is why the grid is so important, because if you don't have your grid, you're going to get so lost. So figuring out just to keep this line parallel with that one, you can use our parallel line trick. I prefer to use measurements at this point. So I'm going to come back 3/4 of an inch from the center. Okay. Okay, and I drew that down. I'm also going to do the same thing here. I'm going to come over 3/4 of an inch back. And you're like, Mrs. Early, we can't even see that side. I'm like, I know, you got to trust me on this though, because there's that little bit right there that needs to be connected. So figuring out what angle to connect that line at. Okay, that little bit of a line needs to be at the proper angle, otherwise it won't work. Doesn't that look better? And finally this corner coming back at a 30-degree angle. I know, it's a lot of mayhem, and I've been drawing a little bit darker with my construction lines than I like to, but I want to make sure that you can see where I was getting my dimensions. I do see a spot where I went a little bit overboard on my object line, so I'm going to clean that up. And if you want to go through and clean up some of your construction lines, that is very much okay by me. They do get a little bit out of control once in a while. You know, just kind of lighten them up a little bit without taking out your object lines. And there is your slide key. Remember, start with your glass box and make sure you bring all dimensions back up to that top ridge.